Anyway, so on to Piers Morgan. As we said, the Mirror Group was being sued by Prince Harry. Literally, the Prince Harry, who at one point was third in line for the throne and now is about eighth or something. I don't fucking know how many kids the other one's got. Who was married to a slightly brown lady and is thus evil and needed to be hounded out of the country, as you do.
It's true. I mean, the story is super long, but essentially, what's kind of sickening about it, really and truly, is that the reason why. The reason why we have this Meghan Markle scandal stuff is because the press decided she needed to be the enemy. The press knew, the Royal Rota, right? So there's a group of different newspapers that have like a rota on access to certain stories from the royals. There's a choreographed dance routine between the monarchy and the press because there is a very symbiotic relationship they have with each other to drive revenue and money for both of them and prestige for the royals. And Prince Harry being what he was and Meghan Markle being who she is, they undermine the kind of broad prestige, I guess, of what the monarchy represents. Yes. Prince Harry, by being a bit of a bellend, but our bellend, right? Our bellend.
The people's bellend.
The people's bellend. And Meghan Markle by being slightly brown and American. And so that was, they broke her mirror as far as the monarchy is concerned, and they also didn't want to play the press's game. So as soon as Prince Harry and Meghan Markle stopped wanting to play like the press's very specific game, the press decided to destroy them. And you can see this. You can see it. Every point leading up to this is just a choreographed desire to prime their own audience to essentially not trust or believe anything that Harry and Meghan say, because they want to make sure that the audience and the people side with the press over them and with the royals who aren't, at least something close to normal people. Because that's the thing with Harry and Meghan, is I genuinely feel like if they weren't royals, they would just be like regular folk, right? Like Harry, they dressed up as a Nazi one time, gets photographed in naked, goes and blows up some Afghans. Just a normal fella, right?
Well, who would have thought that a guy whose entire childhood was centered around the event where the press chased his mother, having basically destroyed her reputation and called her a slag for a decade, and then chased her into a tunnel and killed her? Who would have thought that guy would have a chip on his shoulder about the press?
Exactly, yeah.
Crazy stuff. Anyway, he didn't want them to literally Diana, to use that as a verb, his now wife. And so they've escaped to, I believe, Los Angeles, etc., etc. Anyway, these hacking stories go all the way back to when he was a young man, when he was dating Chelsea something or other, whatever her name was, briefly famous. They were dating when they were both young. Anyway, and clearly hacking took place, etc., etc. So Prince Harry's barrister, David Sherborne, having won the case, and honestly, he must have felt like he had 10 cocks walking out there.
Absolutely. Just walking with a whole Lidl's bag for life full of bollocks, right? Billy Big
Exactly. Absolutely. He's the best moment of his fucking life. Not only has he just won a big case against a major corporation, but he gets to stroll out. What happens is you just walk out of the court and go home because no one really cares. Because you just regularly like, oh, it's a fishing quota issue or something. This time he gets to go out there and be, I just fucking won. All hail me, etc., etc.
Absolutely. And it's just super important to break up this facade, which some people believe that all of the reporting on the royals is in some way being done in a legitimate manner, when it's always been a choreographed dance, and they're entirely within each other's pockets. And so this being blown wide open by what's happened here is a really kind of momentous moment.
It genuinely quite is, yeah. It's a bit of a historic thing, really. But even, to be honest with you, royal correspondent, even at its best, royal correspondent is worthless. Like, if you're a royal correspondent, I will buy you a season pass for Roblox. Go for it.
There's literally a video by the South African guy, I forget what his name is now, where they trick a bunch of royal experts, quote unquote, into pretending they know what's in a Harry and Meghan interview that they've not sing yet.
Oh, okay, and, I remember the thing,
yeah, exactly. Those are the same people who tricked Katie Hopkins.
Yes, what are they called? Yeah, I can't remember. Yeah, I know what you're talking about, though. I'll see if I can dig that out.
So, because royal correspondents, essentially, all they are, they're just bullshit machines. Because as long as you make content that involves the name of the royals somewhere in the video that you put out, people will watch it. It's like an absolute goldmine for AdSense revenue. In fact, what Talk TV and GB News do, Talk TV are going to be super important when we get to the second half of this story. But what Talk TV and GB News do, they use the monarchy's big draw that it has for people both here and across the pond who buy into the drama, the royal monarchy drama that's going on, that they've constructed to be able to create reams of content, to be able to pad out their bullshit or obsolete platforms. And then they'll use that to take this group of traditionalists and then drive them towards other right-wing perspectives. They specifically use this as a recruitment tool for viewers. Because if you look at Talk TV, if you just go to their videos page and then search by popular, just all of the top videos all about the monarchy. All of them.
Yeah. Actually, and it's interesting you mentioned Americans as well there, because I don't think enough is made of the fact that so much of the establishment's love of the monarchy and keeping it in place and protecting it is because of its soft power influence over Daddy America.
Yeah.
Literally, well, like it's the only reason the only time you ever hear a story in America from Britain is either maybe if we change a prime minister and then the Queen died, or there's a royal baby. That's basically it. You know?
Exactly, 100%. It's an export. It's literally just an export. I think you'd probably still make more money if you just turned Buckingham Palace into a giant Weatherspoons, but I digress. Also, the guys of the video was Josh and Archie. Thank you for pointing that out in chat.
There you go. Yes.
Today is a great day for truth, as well as accountability. The court has ruled that unlawful and criminal activities were carried out at all three Mirror Group newspaper titles, The Mirror, The Sunday Mirror and The People, on a habitual and
do you remember The People?
basis
Wow.
for over more than a decade. I'd like to thank my legal team for so successfully dismantling the sworn testimony of Mirror Group's senior executives, legal department and journalists who at least turned up to court, unlike their...
Oh, he's dropping shade on every gun.
It's beautiful. It's a real beautiful moment.
It is. Just enjoy it. Even the dickheads that turned up. Oh.
colleagues who were perhaps too afraid to do so. This case...
He's literally calling them bollockles. He's just, you fucking pussies. Couldn't even be bothered to turn up. Love it.
Absolutely. Fucking sending them into the shadow realm.
Exactly. He is Thanos snapping their fucking self-worth amazingly. Well done.
This is not just about hacking. It is about a systemic practice of unlawful and appalling behaviour, followed by cover-ups and destruction of evidence, the shocking scale of which can only be revealed through these proceedings. The court has found that Mirror Group's principal board directors...
Well, no, what I would say is that there is another way that could have been exposed. If we had some sort of institutions in this country that had specifically, they paid people to go out there and look for information about news stories and then reveal that information to the public for the benefit of the public's knowledge so that we can better understand the world around us. If only there were kind of papers that delivered that kind of news to people. If only that existed, that would be fucking awesome, wouldn't it? But unfortunately,
it would be really good.
No such organisations are around.
Their legal department, senior executives and editors such as Piers Morgan clearly knew about or were involved in these illegal acts.
Literally name dropping him. I think he's the only person he name drops as well.
I feel like that name might be quite important later.
I feel like it might be. I think there's a reason he specifically targeted that one name.
Activities. Between them, they even went as far as lying under oath to Parliament during the Leveson inquiry, to the Stock Exchange, and to us all ever since.
It's worth pointing out.
Absolutely dumpstered.
Completely dumpstered. It's worth pointing out to the Yankoids in chat who are unaware. But the Leveson inquiry was like a big inquiry that we had, like an actual like government, a government sanctioned inquiry into the original phone hacking cases with like Millie Dowler and things like that.
Yeah. Lord Leveson, after whom it was named, was the independent quote unquote chair, and they interviewed everyone, prime ministers, editors of newspapers, basically everyone who was anyone got interviewed. And we've got a couple of clips coming up from that in just a second. But I felt it would be remiss of us not to give Piers Morgan his right of reply. Note the slightly more downbeat nature of his reply compared to your man there.
Also worth saying as well, before we move ahead, with regards to the Leveson inquiry, that was commissioned by the Labour government.
It was indeed, yes.
Under Gordon Brown. And then after that all went through, one of the proposals in Leveson was for there would be a Leveson 2 about how we can best regulate the press so they could stop being so singularly owned with very little actual social purpose in the way that you were describing earlier, potentially. Right? There was supposed to be a second Leveson inquiry 2 Electric Boogaloo. And then David Cameron got into power, possibly with the help of the right-wing press, and then for some reason decided to cancel Leveson 2. I wonder why that might have been.
And interestingly, the press didn't kick up a big fuss about that, even though that was obviously governmental malfeasance. No, it was just all swept under the carpet. No need to worry about that at all. It's fine.
Yeah.
And the press has been perfect ever since.
Ruled on various cases, including Prince Harry's claim against Mirror Group newspapers, where I was an editor until 2004. The judgment finds there is just one article relating to the Prince, published in the Daily Mirror during my entire 9-year tenure as editor, that he thinks may have involved some unlawful information gathering. To be clear, I had then, and still have, zero knowledge of how that particular story was gathered.
Really? Are you sure about that, Piers? Because, I mean, I reckon it might have had something to do maybe with the way in which you dealt with this particular story. Not necessarily referencing specifically the Harry case, but I think it's an interesting insight. This was when he was interviewed by the Leveson inquirer.
You listened to a tape of a voicemail message, is that correct?
I listened to a tape of a message, yes.
But it was a voicemail message, wasn't it?
I believed it was, yes.
So you listened to all of that. Did you know that was unethical?
Not unethical, no.
Why not?
It doesn't necessarily follow that listening to somebody speaking to somebody else is unethical.
But on the tape of a voicemail message, you didn't think that was unethical?
Well, it depends on the circumstances in which you're listening to it.
But can you tell us something about the circumstances which might lead us to think that it was not unethical?
I'm afraid I can't, no, because I'm not going to do anything that may identify the source.
But the source would only be someone who was participating in the same unethical activity as you were, isn't that true?
Well, you're presuming it's unethical.
You listened to a tape of a
absolute scumbag.
What?
Scumbag.
Yeah, can you give us an example of how it might not have been unethical? No,
nothing at all. Nothing at all.
Anyway, I'm sure he's perfectly.
Today is a great
Hang
day.
on, that's the wrong video. Shut up. You've had your say.
All his other claims against the Daily Mirror under my editorship were rejected. With regard to the judge's other references to me in his judgment, I also want to reiterate, as I've consistently said for many years now, I've never hacked a phone or told anybody else to hack a phone.
Again, an interesting claim. It's a fascinating, specific claim he makes there. Shall we listen to Jeremy Paxman being interviewed by the same inquiry about a dinner he had with Piers Morgan once?
Let's have a listen. Let's
shed some light on that, I think.
Mr. Morgan in particular, did he say anything during the course of this luncheon which was of interest or unusual?
Well, it's really the only. There were two reasons I remembered the lunch. One was that it was so unusual to be invited into such a bestiary. The second of which was that I was really struck by something that Piers Morgan said at lunch. I was seated, as far as I recall, between him on my left and the editor of the Sunday Mirror on my right. And Ulrika Johnson was seated opposite, almost next to Philip Green and Victor Blank on her other side, I think. And Morgan said, teasing Ulrika, that he knew what had happened in conversations between her and Sven-Göran Eriksson.
So this specifically is for Ulrika Johnson is a Swedish-born British TV presenter who had an affair, allegedly, with, at the time anyway, but she did, with Sven-Göran Eriksson, the Swedish man who was the manager of the England football team at the time. And the reason that came to light was because Sven-Göran Eriksson's phone was hacked.
And he went into this mock Swedish accent. Now, I don't know whether he was repeating a conversation that he had heard or he was imagining this conversation. In fact, to be fair to him, I think we should accept both possibilities, that he probably was imagining it. It was a rather bad parody. So, yeah, I do remember it quite, and I was quite struck by it because...
Now, it's interesting that he says there that he's going to give good faith to Piers Morgan on this, given that the interaction they then have afterwards, which would indicate that you really oughtn't give him that good faith.
It's fine though, Kev. It's fine. It was just being unethical in a limited and specific way.
It's fine, yeah, as long as they're breaking the law inside the confines of international law. Yeah.
Many of these things, I didn't know that sort of thing went on. And indeed, when he then turned to me and said, "Have you got a mobile phone?" I said yes, and he said, "Have you got a security setting on the message bit of it?" I don't think it was called voicemail in those days. I didn't know what he was talking about, and he then explained that the way to get access to people's messages was to go to the factory default setting and press either 000 or 1234, and that if you didn't put on your own code, his words, "You're a fool."
So he explained in specific detail how one would go about hacking a phone, and then told Jeremy Paxman to get protection against the hacking of phones. But he didn't know anything about hacking phones.
No,
at
exactly.
all. What?
Thing is, we got to remember. Thing is, the specific phrase that he used during the statement, which was what we picked up on, was that he specifically said, "I never hacked a phone. I never told anybody else to hack a phone." No, maybe not specifically. Very difficult to prove if it was you specifically that told somebody. If it was just in a conversation rather than like in an email or something like that, right? But if it was happening within your establishment and you knew that it was happening, but it just happened completely organically, then maybe you might be in the clear. Who knows? Who possibly could tell?
And nobody has produced any actual evidence to prove that I did. I wasn't called as a witness, it's important for people to know this, by either side in the case, nor was I asked to provide any statement. I would have very happily agreed to do either or both of those things had I been asked. Nor did I have a single conversation with any of the Mirror Group lawyers throughout the entire legal process. So I wasn't able to respond to the many false allegations that were spewed about me.
By the way, Talk TV, I know the number. You're blurring out the number there, but you're not blurring it out very well. I know what it is. I've seen it. You're shit at this. I won't reveal it because technically that might be doxing or whatever. But like, if you look when his head moves across the thing, they blur it very ineffectively.
Caught by old foes of mine with an axe to grind, most of which inexplicably were not even challenged in my absence by the Mirror Group Council. But I note the judge appears to have believed the evidence of Omid Scobie, who lied about me in his new book, and he lied about me in court, and the whole world now knows him to be...
So, this Omid Scobie fella, I had no idea who the hell this was, right? Apparently it's only like a recent thing. I noticed who he was like a week ago, because as I would usually be doing, would be scrolling through the latest videos from Talk TV, see what the rightoids are up in a piss about. As always, I always do, looking for content to be able to react to.
Wait,
and there was just like...
It's always trans.
Yeah, it's trans people, it's the boats, it's Keir Starmer, it's why you should vote for Reform UK. That's basically all it is, right? Or Tory MPs having their own shows, like Jake Berry for some reason. But there was just a whole like laundry list full of videos about Omid Scobie. So I was wondering what this was about. And all of this, right? This just shows you how people like Talk TV prime their audiences to make sure that they disbelieve their critics.
Yeah.
He wrote this kind of pretty middling, pretty boring book about like the royal family and the things that were going on between Harry and Meghan and the elder monarchs. And it was called Endgame. And in this book, in the Dutch translation, when they did the translation, they accidentally, apparently, according to Scobie, put in a named accusation that I think it might have been King Charles had been the one who'd said racist comments about the potential for what Harry and Meghan's baby might look like.
Yeah.
And that's not been a proven thing. So by this mistranslation that his publisher put into the Dutch version for some reason, right? Like, this is how nebulous they have to go and how far they have to dig to find some compromise about the people whose reputations they want to destroy to ensure that any critics of their really high ticket, right? Their highest ticket presenter on Talk TV is Piers Morgan. So high ticket, he has his own show with its own YouTube channel across multiple different.
Excuse me, Mike Graham, please.
The concrete mic, of course, right? And so they need to know, because they must all know that something like this was going to happen. Something like this was always going to be on the cards. There was always going to be something around the corner. And so they've got to go, well, we have to understand that somebody who's going to make these accusations, they need to be completely untrustworthy for anybody who's on our side, right? So we have to completely eviscerate any of their credibility. They did it to Harry. They did it to Meghan. They're doing it to Omid Scobie as well.
Yeah, Wayward historian, please clarify for this yank. I mean, I believe it's yankoid, but we'll let you off. You're telling me it's commonplace for the press/paparazzi to just spy on random citizens for news articles in lieu of the NSA, not even for security. Yeah, that is literally what it. Like I say, we had literally had an independent inquiry led by a fucking peer of the realm to do to search through the mire of shit that was phone hacking. Yes. So, it's, but the press are believable, they totally believes. Also,
watertight institution.
Interesting that Piers Morgan hasn't condemned phone hacking.
True.
Do you condemn phone hacking, Piers? Do you condemn phone hacking?
A noted absence of any condemnations of phone hacking in his statement there.
I can only assume he's pro-terrorism. I mean, phone hacking then.
Absolutely. And also, thank you for the 10 gifted, Phil. Much appreciated. And the new member who was the Chaos Droid, thank you.
A deluded fantasist. And he believed the evidence of Alistair Campbell, another proven liar who spun this country into an illegal war.
I mean,
finally, I want
to be fair to Piers, right? To be fair to Piers, if you're going to have somebody making accusations against you, somebody who made accusations about fake weapons of mass destruction, is probably like the highest you'd have on your list, because no one's fucking believing a word they say. Despite, I think, Alistair Campbell's kind of political criticisms can actually be somewhat pointed sometimes, right? Like, he literally brought up the fact when everyone was kind of eviscerating Gary Lineker over his comments over 1930s Germany. Alistair Campbell's literally on the news saying, well, hang on a minute, Alan Sugar spent his entire time on Twitter whilst being the presenter of The Apprentice trying to undermine Jeremy Corbyn, right? If that's okay, why is it wrong for Gary Lineker to be castigated for having his own political opinions? So Alistair Campbell isn't like always wrong, but his anything he ever says for the rest of his life is completely unbelievable, and I will never believe it because of the weapons of mass destruction and the dodgy dossier.
Yes, it's just nice to see dickheads fighting. Like, no matter who wins in a Piers Morgan versus Alistair Campbell bout, one of them will lose, and that's what I will take joy in. So if they want to punch each other, both either physically or non-physically, I'm here for it.
He literally calls Omid Scobie a deluded fantasist. Because again, that is specifically what people are being primed to believe. Not that he's got a thing wrong one time, but everything he'll ever say is completely called into question or unbelievable. And so you can dismiss anything they ever say. Hence, like, this deliberate way that he's phrased it as being a deluded fantasist. Interesting. Very clever.
Into an illegal war. Finally, I want to say this. Prince Harry's outrage at media intrusion into the private lives of the royal family is only matched by his own ruthless, greedy, and hypocritical enthusiasm for doing it himself.
Yes.
He talked today about...
It's almost like when you consent to doing it, it's much of a different position. And say, for example, someone is literally hacking your mobile phones. Right?
Yeah,
there's a difference. It's like why it's absolutely fine for you to send pictures of yourself in your underwear to your partner, yet it's almost frowned upon to look at somebody undressing through their window with binoculars when you're up a tree.
Consent is the important factor here. If he wants to do an interview with Oprah Winfrey, that's fine. If Oprah Winfrey breaks into his fucking house and starts taking pictures, not okay.
Yeah, and it's also like, if they're going to be excised from all of their kind of monarchic duties, part of their royal duties or whatever.
And indeed the country he was born in.
Yeah, they're going to need to have like another source of income. Like, I'm not going to go mad for anybody from the royal family, right? I honestly, really and truly, I just don't care, right? I just don't care, but I'm going to take critical support for anybody who's fighting against Piers Morgan and our utterly grotesque press industrial cufflinks, because there's nobody worse. There's literally nobody worse than our journalist class in this country. No one's worse.
Yeah, no, they're garbage. Absolutely.
They're terrible. They're terrible. No one's worse.
About the appalling behaviour of the press. But this is a guy who's repeatedly trashed his family in public for hundreds of millions of dollars, even as two of its most senior and respected members were dying, his grandparents. It's hard to imagine, frankly, more appalling behaviour than that.
Also,
That's
pause.
I don't know, hacking the phone of a dead kid's worse, actually, I would say.
Yeah, that exactly. And also, say, oh, how dare he say things that he's done about his own family, which, may or may not be true, whatever, when two of them were dying or whatever. And I'm just like, how about the things that the journalist did when his own mother was dead?
Yeah.
Like, of anybody in any position here to criticize somebody for talking smack about a royals whilst one of them had just died, right? The press, given what they did to the entirety of the royal family, and specifically Harry himself, in the wake of, but leading up to and in the wake of the death of Princess Diana, is shameless. It's absolutely fucking shameless.
For him saying this is a good day for truth, the Duke has been repeatedly exposed in recent years as someone who wouldn't know the truth if it slapped him around his California tanned face.
Why is he in California, Piers?
Yeah, he's also you can just tell just how absolutely how coping he is. Like,
oh, no, it's pathetic. Yeah, absolutely.
Purely high on copium, right? It's because, for people who are unaware as well, I'm sure not everyone would be aware now too, but the reason why Piers Morgan hates Harry and Meghan so much isn't because he's been told to by his Murdoch overseers, right? You'd think that would be the case, but no, right? He's not doing it because he's been told to by his overseers.
That's
he's
just
not
a
doing
happy
it.
coincidence, yeah.
Yeah, he's not doing it because of the actual phone hacking allegations, because his hatred of these people precedes these allegations and then this all fallout. He hates them because he once tried to get Meghan Markle out on a date and she said no. That's it. That's the only reason.
She blueballed him, and he has had a 20-year... well, maybe not 20 or 10-year, whatever, obsession, to the point where he will literally throw away his job on ITV because someone was criticizing him.
Yeah, roll the clip. We have to find the clip. It's too funny. The walking off. Was it Good Morning Britain that he walks off? Yeah.
Piers Morgan, just put walk up. I don't even think to put GB News, surely. Here we go, Piers Morgan.
And I understand that you don't like Meghan Markle. You've made it so clear a number of times on this programme.
Even by the standards of a show in which confrontation is nothing new, this, between two of its presenters this morning, was extraordinary.
But yet you continue to trash her.
Okay, I'm done with this.
No.
Sorry, no.
Sorry. Do you know what? That's pathetic.
You can track him, maybe not my
No.
See you later.
I'm being...
He's
Sorry,
such a
can't do
baby.
Absolutely
He's such a giant baby.
Behaviour.
The clash followed Piers Morgan's angry on-air reaction yesterday to
what
the
a
interview
bitch.
the Duchess of Sussex had given to Oprah Winfrey. Morgan saying he didn't believe her.
This is a 2-hour trash-a-thon of our royal family, of the monarchy, of everything the Queen has worked so hard for.
So were you thinking of harming yourself? Were you having suicidal thoughts?
Yes, this was very, very clear.
The fact that she'd spoken about her mental health resulted in a huge backlash against the GMB presenter. The mental health charity Mind saying it was disappointed and concerned, and the watchdog...
Yeah, didn't he say something like she needs to suck it up or like grow up or something?
I forget exactly what it was.
Awful, monstrous bullshit. Fucking hell.
Ofcom receiving 41,000 complaints.
Jesus Christ.
This evening, ITV issued a statement saying, following discussions with ITV...
He genuinely does look like a piece of gammon, though. Look at him.
He literally does.
Fucking hell.
Piers Morgan has decided now is the time to leave Good Morning Britain. ITV has accepted this decision and has nothing further to add.
Demands accountability for the press, but refuses to accept any for himself for smearing the royal family, his own family, as a bunch of callous racists without producing a shred
Just because they
to
are.
support those disgraceful claims. He also says he's on a mission to reform the media when it's become clear his real mission, along with his wife, is to destroy the British monarchy. And I will continue to do whatever I can.
Same thing. Literally the same thing. I mean, this exactly. Like, he wants to, because it's such an incestuous relationship that he knows from the inside out that essentially every single member of the royal family has sworn a murder to. And he's like, no, I'm not having it. I'm not doing it. And you know what? You're critical support. Critical support.
I've got the story of why Piers Morgan doesn't like Meghan Markle. He said in an interview on the Late Late Show, quote, "We had 2 hours in the pub. She had a couple of dirty martinis and pints. Then I put her in a cab, and it turns out that cab then took her to a party where she met Prince Harry. So he got cooked out for a taxi he paid for." Amazing. The next night they had a solo dinner, and that was the last time I ever heard from Meghan Markle. I've never heard from her again. Meghan Markle ghosted me.
Hey there, if you enjoyed the video, make sure that you like and leave a comment. That helps the video out in the algorithm. If you subscribe and ring the bell, it'll let you know when I go live. I stream every day on YouTube and Twitch. You can also follow all of my socials down in the description. And if you want to support me in a more financial manner, there's a join button for membership to just 99p to be a member on YouTube, as well as a Patreon, and there's some merch there as well. And hopefully I'll catch you on the next video. Take care.